Penn State wins 79-73. Adam, you were at the Palestra. I'm so glad that Mike Rhoades has the full intention of continuing these types of games. It just adds to the historic value and everything else. They're going to play in Rec Hall soon enough. I mean, this is Penn State specifically, though. I can go on off all these different tangents, but Michigan is not the same team that it was a season ago. You lose your premier player in Hunter Dickinson, transfers to Kansas, veteran player. You don't get Caleb Love out of the transfer portal. He's got to go elsewhere. So Michigan is not where it's supposed to be, but this is still a Juwan Howard-led team. They're a competitive team in in the Big Ten men's basketball conference. And the Big Ten is just going to be unforgiving. And I'm glad to see Penn State isn't beating up on the likes of, let's say, a Nebraska or a Minnesota, two teams that you traditionally associate with the bottom of the Big Ten. But Ohio State, Michigan, who are usually in the thick of it. Now we'll see how they adapt because they got embarrassed by Michigan State. They play Purdue very soon. So, yeah, that's more of your telltale sign of what this Penn State team actually is. But what we've always been honest about was that Penn State is not a bottom feeder team in the Big Ten this season. Do they have some kinks to work out? Absolutely, because they have so many parts that need to move and come together. But we're seeing that, yes, they are competitive, and they are not the worst team in the Big Ten. They're going to be in the middle of the pack here, and they're proving just that with another key win here early in Big Ten conference play.
Yeah, I think this was a big win for Penn State. This game could have got ugly. They were down 14 in the first half, 36-22 at one point. And they were able to fight their way back and able to get this win. Ace Baldwin played one of the best games he's played in the blue and white. Kanye Clary had a very, very bad first half, was able to come back and finish with 18, get to his average, and be able to control in the second half. DeMarco Dunn continues to be a great bench performer for this team at the guard position. I think you look at just the way they were able to play and get this win. Now, Michigan, they are at the bottom of the Big Ten right now. They are not where they need to be. They're playing really bad. This thing's nosediving for Juwan Howard and Phil Martelli, so it's definitely not working for them right now. They got to figure out some stuff, and they've got a tough stretch coming up, so it could go really bad for the Wolverines. But it was a must-win for Penn State because they've got two tough games this week, Northwestern at home, then at Purdue, so it does not get any easier for Penn State. It doesn't get easy for any Big Ten team when they look forward to any other games in their conference slate. So it's going to be very tough for Penn State this season. But I think, today was a good point that they could have just accepted, we're in the first year of a new coach. We're going to be bad this year. That's just how it's going to be. And we could have just laid down 14. They fought their way back just like they did against Ohio State and got a huge win, an unbelievable atmosphere at the Palestra for them in this game. And now they return home back to the Bryce Jordan Center to take on Northwestern. It proves that they're in this for the long haul. I mean, you lose by 31 to Michigan State, then get down 14 in the first half to Michigan. You could easily fold, and they fought their way back and won that game. So huge win for Mike Rhoades, a program win when you're looking at the future of the program. Huge for this program and enabled to get this thing moving in the right direction. I think big for Penn State.
And a couple more takeaways that I have from this one, Adam, because if you look at the Michigan State game, they obviously didn't shoot well, but the way that Penn State plays basketball under this group, because they're the isolation type of offense, very heavy in the backcourt. They're strong with their guard play and Ace Baldwin and Kanye Clary, but it can't be just that. It can't be just those two in the dynamic duo. You have to have other options. So I'm waiting. Who is that third option? I'm talking consistency. Is it Leo O'Boyle? Is it DeMarco Dunn? I thought it was going to be Puff Johnson. But in Penn State, I don't want it to be basically roulette with who's going to be the number 3 option, because if one of them gets taken away, Kanye Clary or Ace Baldwin, Penn State struggles significantly, but they were able to fix a couple of things. Not necessarily the shooting. The shooting's still not there, even though a lot of different players can shoot. I've been honest about that, but they got back to what they do well, and they don't rebound well, but they force turnovers and they win the turnover battle. The reason Michigan State blew them out of the water in East Lansing was because in the first half, when I saw that graphic that Michigan State, I think it was like middle of the first half, had 18 points off of turnovers compared to Penn State's 0. Yeah, that game was out of hand from the moment they said go. But in this case, Penn State fixed that and got back to its identity. So Penn State's not going to out-rebound you. They're not going to outshoot you, but they're going to use the talent that they have, Ace Baldwin and Kanye Clary, to attack you. You just need reinforcements here. Playing, trying to pickpocket everybody, get turnovers, and win that way. It's a winning strategy, but it's not enough, especially Penn State's an offensive team too, Adam. This isn't, everyone said, Mike Rhoades is going to be slow, boring, defensive, because that's what worked at VCU in the A-10. But at the Big Ten for this season, they played a little faster. They have a quicker pace to them, and they're an offensive team. That's why you're seeing them lose in the first half, but come back and be strong in the second half because it takes time. You have to heat up. And Penn State needs that first 20 minutes to heat up in this case. So let's just be honest about what Penn State is. They are good enough. They are competitive, but how good can they be? And you're going to see, I think we're just going to keep seeing almost a random player be that third option on any given night. You have your 1A, 1B of Baldwin and Clary, and then who's going to be that third option on a given night? I just want to see more consistency in order for this team to actually reach its true potential if it all gels together.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I think DeMarco Dunn is their third guard option. I think their third option has to be Kudus Wahab down low because he's their only post presence and he's their only guy that's going to be inside demanding that ball and the pressure on the defense. And he's going to be huge on the defensive end this year just because, you're going up against a guy like Zach Edey in 2 games. You're going to have to have somebody to throw at him. They got Favor Ire still coming back from injury, did not play today, but still trying to get back. Demetrius Lilly's been in and out of the lineup, but just trying to find that big rotation. Kudus Wahab's going to have to be a guy that steps up. But I think DeMarco Dunn is their third scoring option just because his ability to score at all 3 levels. He's very similar to Ace Baldwin and Kanye Clary in his ability to get to the basket as well as catch and shoot. And he's really starting to gel into his role. We've seen games, the Ohio State game when they came back, he was a sensational, played really good against Georgia Tech, then was a great off the bench again today against Michigan. I think he's going to be that third scoring option. Then you look at Puff Johnson and Zach Hicks. Those are guys, they're 3-point shooters. They're spot up catch and shoot guys so far right now. That's what we've seen from them this year. So they're really going to be on if they're hitting their shots today or if they're not going to hit their shots today. You're going to find that out pretty early, but they have to be able to hit open shots. Mike Rhoades said after the game, he was surprised they were missing so many open threes. Didn't expect that to be an issue this year because of how much dribble penetration Ace Baldwin and Kanye Clary put on your defense. You're kicking out to open guys. Got to be able to catch and make those shots. Penn State hasn't consistently yet this year, but I think they're trying to figure that out and get to where they are making those open threes when they get them, and they just got to continue to work at that. But I think you hit it on the head. They got to find more consistency outside of their 2 stars, Ace Baldwin and Kanye Clary, if they want any semblance of a true run here in the Big Ten where they can make some noise. You got to find a way to get that consistency. So we'll see what they can do. But I mean, it's very exciting to see the way they played today and how that might trend moving forward in Big Ten play.
Adam, let's finish with this. They have Northwestern and Purdue, as you mentioned. What are you looking for, as Purdue is a mismatch type of game again, where they're good with the basketball. They don't give up a lot of turnovers. They have veteran guards now, and they have Zach Edey, who's going to out-rebound them by themselves. And Northwestern is still that same physical team from a year ago. In both of those games, what's your general 1 or 2 keys for Penn State to, pull off some prizes? Because I don't know that they're going to be favorited in either game.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be favored. Maybe slight. I think it's going to be a close spread for Northwestern. They're definitely not going to be favored against on the road at Purdue. That's not going to happen. But I think it's going to be very close between those Penn State and Northwestern. I think both games are very similar. You got to speed them up. Both those teams are willing to slow it down, get it to their stars, and be able to attack you. Boo Buie is one of the best one-on-one just going against anybody. It's going to be an interesting matchup because he's not very big, and Ace Baldwin can match up with him a little bit. Ace had a really good defensive game today against Doug McDaniel and his ability to pressure the ball. Can they do that again against Boo Buie? Is going to be a huge question. And if they could do that, that really hurts the way Northwestern can attack you offensively. So I think the ability to press, especially against Purdue, that's how teams beat them last year. If you're able to press, force turnovers, keep it out of where they can just slow it down, then go give it to the big guy down low and he can score. They're going to have to force turnovers out and make those guards beat them. They've been really good this year. Fletcher Lawyer and Braden Smith have been sensational for the Boilermakers this season, but you got to try to force turnovers. I think both games are a very similar approach for Mike Rhoades. You got to speed them up. Your defense, you got to force those turnovers like they did today and get out on the run and score in transition, as well as you're going to have to knock down shots. I mean, both those guys, both teams have big guys that are going to be able to come over and contest layup attempts by Kanye Clary and Ace Baldwin. So they're going to be kicking out to open guys, and they're going to have to be able to hit shots and pull those bigs out. I think Leo O'Boyle is going to be huge against Purdue specifically, kind of the way Penn State did, with Mikey Henn and Miles Dredd at the 5 against Zach Edey, trying to pull them out and make them shoot threes and pull them away from the basket. Things will be very similar to how they attack them this year with maybe a guy like Leo O'Boyle. Maybe they put Zach Hicks or Puff Johnson at the 5 for short periods of time, just try to make make Matt Painter really think about how he's going to defend Penn State. But it's going to be a tough challenge. 2 very, very good teams of the Big Ten, 2 teams that that will most likely be in the NCAA tournament. And, you got to be able to compete. And I think the big thing, as I said, got to force turnovers, got to let your defense lead to your offense, because these teams are very good defensive teams.